Have you ever had someone live in your head rent-free? You're not texting. You're not seeing each other. Maybe you haven't spoken in weeks, months, maybe even years. And yet, he's there. In your thoughts when you wake up, in the quiet moments before you sleep. It's like a ghost of connection you can't explain. And you're wondering, what does it mean? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." What you're experiencing isn't just missing someone. It's a sign that something deeper, something in your psyche, in your soul, is still holding on. Let's talk about why this happens, and what it truly means when someone stays on your mind, even when you're not talking. 1. The unfinished psychological loop. When we stop talking to someone, the story doesn't always end in our minds. Jung believed the human psyche seeks completion. When a relationship ends, especially without closure, the unconscious treats it like an unfinished sentence. That's why your brain keeps circling back, replaying conversations, wondering what could have been said differently, imagining alternative outcomes. This isn't weakness. It's your mind's way of trying to finish a narrative it never got to complete. If he's still in your thoughts, it might not be because you love him, but because your psyche is still searching for the missing piece. 2. The energetic imprint. Every person we connect with leaves an energetic imprint on us. Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, the idea that we are all linked through shared emotional and symbolic experiences. When two people share deep connection, their energies intertwine in ways that don't just disappear with silence. If you laughed together, cried together, shared intimate moments, those experiences left traces in your emotional body. Silence can actually make those imprints louder because you have no new interactions to overwrite them. Think of it like a song stuck in your head. It plays on repeat because it never got a proper ending. 3. The projection of the archetype. Sometimes the man you're thinking about isn't really the man himself. Jung believed we often fall for archetypes. Universal symbols our unconscious projects onto people. If he awakens something inside you, a sense of safety, passion, challenge, or adventure, your mind may be holding on to that feeling, not necessarily him. This is why months later you might still think of him, even if, logically, you know the relationship wasn't right. You're not just missing a person, you're missing the version of you that appeared when you were with him. 4. The unconscious mirror. Here's another reason you can't stop thinking about him. He mirrors something you haven't fully faced in yourself. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of us we repress or deny. Maybe he awakened insecurities you didn't know you had. Maybe he challenged you to grow, but you resisted. Maybe he embodied traits you secretly wish you had. Confidence, independence, boldness. When someone reflects our shadow back at us, we can become obsessed. Not because we're in love, but because our psyche is urging us to look inward. Until you address that part of yourself, the mirror stays in your mind. 5. Emotional tethering. Here's the hard truth. Sometimes thinking about him isn't spiritual or symbolic. Sometimes it's emotional conditioning. If your relationship was intense, even if it wasn't healthy, your nervous system got used to the emotional highs and lows. Silence feels like withdrawal. Your body craves the familiar stimulation, even if it brought pain. Jung wrote about how the psyche often confuses familiarity with safety, so your mind might be keeping him close simply because your system doesn't yet know how to live without that emotional rhythm. 6. The soul contract. This might sound mystical, but Jung himself explored spirituality deeply. He believes some connections feel inevitable because they're part of our individuation, our soul's journey to wholeness. Some people come into our lives not to stay forever, but to awaken something we couldn't access alone. If he's still in your thoughts, perhaps your soul is still unpacking the lesson he brought. Once that lesson is integrated, the intensity of thinking about him naturally fades. 7. The possibility you're avoiding. Sometimes the reason you can't stop thinking about him is because you're avoiding something in the present. Our minds are masters at distraction. If there's a decision you're afraid to make, a truth you don't want to face, a loneliness you're not ready to sit with, your brain might latch onto him as a safe focus point. Jung taught that the psyche uses symbols to protect us from pain we're not ready to face directly. But that protection also traps us in the past, replaying old connections instead of creating new ones. 8. Silence doesn't mean disconnection. Here's something important. Just because you're not talking doesn't mean there's no connection. There are relationships that exist in an unspoken space where the bond is felt, not performed. Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. If he changed you, you carry that transformation with you, whether you speak again or not. 9. What this means for you. If he's constantly on your mind, ask yourself, is this longing about him or about a part of me he awakened? Is this love? Or is this an unresolved psychological loop? Am I holding on to a memory because I'm afraid to move forward? The meaning behind it will be different for everyone. For some, it's unresolved emotion. For others, it's an invitation to self-discovery. For a few, it might be a genuine soul-level connection that simply paused, not ended. 10. The path forward. Carl Jung believed that awareness is the first step to transformation. You don't have to force yourself to stop thinking about him. That rarely works. Instead, acknowledge the thoughts without judgment. Identify the pattern. Is it triggered by loneliness, boredom, specific memories? Turn inward. Explore what this fixation reveals about your desires, fears, and values. Close the loop. If you never got closure, find your own. Write the letter you'll never send. Speak the words you wished you'd said. Redirect the energy. Pour it into something creative, physical, or deeply nourishing for your soul. When you understand why he's still in your mind, the grip loosens naturally. The point isn't to erase him. It's to integrate what he represents into your own growth. Final thoughts. If he's on your mind but you're not talking, it's not just random. Your unconscious is speaking, trying to show you something you haven't fully seen. It might be love. It might be longing. It might be a wound. It might be the echo of a lesson you haven't yet learned. Jung would tell you, don't run from it. Don't romanticize it. Get curious about it. Because the moment you understand the real reason he's still in your head, that's the moment you stop being haunted and start being free.